Hey everybody, welcome back to School Sucks Live for July 26, 2012. If you're interested in joining our conversation, we're going to be talking a little bit about educational politics, not a subject that I jump into too much on this show, but I have the best person to do it with, my old friend Kate Baker. You probably remember her. If you've been listening for a while, she's been on the show before. And 843-JOIN-SSP is the number if you want to call us on the phone. If you don't like the phone, try Skype. We have a Skype at School Sucks Live, and we'd be happy to have you join the conversation. So, Kate, I wanted to get into the first article that we talked about during the week. It's called New Hampshire Will Request a Waiver from No Child Left Behind.
I mean, that's where I pulled that data from that you're just like, you're like, that's not data.
That's what I do to government data. I punch it with sound effects. So the reason why I thought this was interesting is the last couple shows we've been talking about the centralization and systematization of education in the United States. Going back over a century. You know, how once this institution now, here, you can make a hat out of tinfoil and you can just hand it to me when you think I should have it on. But when you have an institution...
I mean, I can listen to you and imagine it's there the entire time.
Oh, okay, perfect. Perfect.
I see it.
I might even be able to add that in post-production on the video. All right. So, but I really believe that when you have an institution that people believe to be a noble institution...
I mean, sure, helping kids, teaching.
Yeah. There are always going to be the types of people, you know, who want to control the world, who want to shape society for what they think is the best, whether they could really tell themselves a story like it's good, or they could have malevolent intentions and just not care. But for over a century, we've seen people who thought they were smart enough or special enough to try and mold children into what certain elites and controllers and managers of society wanted them to be.
At some point, we did have decentralized education in the United States.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Now, I think it started with a more centralized plan where, you know, they went to Prussia and Horace Mann brings back the Prussian model of education, which
is the desks, right?
Yeah, desks and rows.
In a row.
Very much about obedience, very much about state worship. And
oh, come on. I mean...
It is. It absolutely is.
I mean, I don't like the desks in the rows, okay? I'll go with that.
But regimentation, conformity,
because I don't like direct instruction. I don't feel like that really works all the time.
Well, that was their model because they had to teach those things. Mm-hmm. That was what it was important to them. And in Prussia, they needed an obedient military to expand their kingdom. So this was the model they came up with to do that. Now, Horace Mann loves it. And he says, oh, we'll just bring it to the United States and use it for good stuff. True story.
Because that's what we do in the United States.
Yeah, we use it for good.
Right.
So you know, that's the middle of the 1800s.
Sure.
John Dewey gets his hands on it, you know, and he's more of a left-wing socialist type, and he says, you know, we need to use this to plan the economy of the future, where people need to be interdependent, we need to have workers, and, I mean, certainly he thinks he has the best of intentions. I believe Horace Mann probably thought he had the best of intentions.
Yeah, but is it really possible that they could exhibit that much control over an entire system?
Their influence.
I mean,
absolutely.
Could they really have that much influence as one individual or someone with an idea?
I think that ideas have been the most influential thing in shaping policy, you know, and it's never ideas are not part of any democratic process. You know, you don't go to I know there's such a thing as ballot initiatives, and what are they called when you can vote on an issue? What is that called? As a name. What is it called?
I think you just said it, didn't you?
Ballot initiatives. Okay, sure. Okay, maybe that's what they call it. But I mean, the real plans are made behind, closed doors of rooms that you and I are not in.
But don't you think it hasn't been centralized for long enough to really be evil? To really be?
I think if you have a system where a few people are trying to decide what's best for millions of strangers, the words good and evil really don't have that much punch for me anymore. But it's definitely wrong that people are deciding for other people's children, forcing people's children to pay for this system.
I mean, clearly.
And then decide what's good for their children while they threaten to take their house if they won't pay for it.
I mean, clearly people know what's best for their own children.
Oh, certain better than some academic in a university.
I mean, parents always know what's best for they're the best to make decisions for their children on their education.
Yeah, until the child gets to an age where they can make their own decisions, I believe.
Okay, it depends. I mean, what's that age? We shouldn't go there. We
There-
shouldn't go there.
There
now.
is no standard age. See, do
We
you want to
shouldn't go there now.
Do you want to
No.
be central planner?
No, I don't want to be the central planner, and I know every child is different. Every
Right.
family is different. Everybody has a different experience, which is why I think that choosing your child's school is so important.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like school choice is important, because I feel like different options work for different people. Different people have different values, sets of values. Different people have different ideas about what's right for them, and they should be able to control their children's. I mean, really, you're controlling your child's destiny when you choose their school, because think about how much time they spend there, right? And think about how much influence the people can have on your child that are around them, right? So you would choose those people very wisely.
Yeah.
You would say, I want the people that my children are around every day to have very, to be very kind, for example.
Yeah.
My ideas for my children would be that the people would be very kind and flexible and interesting. That they
Sure.
would spend their school day with people kind, interesting, and flexible. And so I would choose a school that had some maybe different kind of ideas, some active things going on.
Yeah. Now you're immersed in the political side of this a little bit. So how do you feel like, let's say, the State Department of Education, or even you can speculate on the Federal Department of Education, how do they feel about all of these alternative school models popping up?
I mean, it seems like it's more of a grassrootsy movement actually now.
Yeah.
Most of the state government, I mean, if they're more like Republican, then they tend to be a little more school choice open to that option.
Okay.
If they're, I mean, I hate to classify like that, but that's really, it seems to be the way it is. It seems like conservative people are more interested in school choice and giving options to families. Probably because it actually saves money. It's kind of a fiscal issue, too, in a government when you're looking at it that way. Because if someone uses one of these scholarships, for example, to send their child to a private school, they may get a scholarship. The average is $2,500. So they may use that $2,500 to pay for their child's tuition. They pay the rest of the tuition, right? The tuition at the school is maybe $3,500, right? So they pay the rest of the tuition. That child is not attending a public school. So the child is not costing, what, in Manchester, I think it's almost $12,000 per student.
Whoa.
So it's a fiscal issue, right? And
Yeah.
so the parents taking responsibility for their own children's education and sending them to a school that they choose with a small help of a scholarship saves, like $12,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is for Republicans or conservatives, in some instances, it's just really a fiscal issue.
And how about
because
them?
schools are so expensive.
Yeah. And do they probably recognize that there's a fair amount of waste as well?
I mean, it depends on who you talk to.
And how much they know. Now, what about the other side?
I mean, I don't know. Is there a lot of waste? I don't even have the authority. I mean, I couldn't say that with any great authority. I mean, I know that charter schools, are cost less than standard public schools, about half, and they seem to do okay. So,
and I would say that it's all
and private schools do okay, charging, $3,500 or $4,000 a year for a kid. Sometimes $7,000 a year or $8,000. So it's still not 12. I mean, there's like prep schools that are more expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Now, how would you
It's
feel?
such a tough to.
How would you feel if I said I feel like it's all waste? Because people aren't. It's not real education that's happening in those schools, so it's 100% waste. And one of the reasons why I typically try to steer clear of the conversations about the pragmatics or the politics of these things is because it's very easy to get put into a box where you're having the conversation that somebody else wants you to have, and you can't focus on the real issues. I'm sure you kind of know what I mean.
I do.
We are going to pick it up right there. If you want to join this conversation, 843-JOIN-SSP. School Sucks Live. My guest is Kate Baker. We're having a lively discussion, and we hope you'll participate. We will be right back.